Okay, so what's up, guys? In this video and future videos like this, I'm gonna be covering mathematics. Now, personally, I'm still trying to get a higher level studying. Um, my goal right now is, if I can, eventually get a PhD in math or philosophy. So I don't think I'm gonna actually teach at a high school level, although it is a possibility depending on what happens. But I feel like a lot of tutors and online video makers and teachers of high school mathematics are missing some fundamental aspects that they need to cover. For me, when I was in high school, when I was first introduced to high school mathematics, which was more difficult than, grade school, was just adding stuff and, dealing with inequalities, equations, kind of this tiny tidbits of basically, sound, random sound. That's basically what I think of it as. It's like learning you know, how to brush your teeth. It's not really something you really need to think about. It's something that everybody is able to do easily. It's not something you need to study. When I first arrived in high school and I went to study advanced functions with a teacher that was relatively difficult, I first was introduced to mathematics as a language. Okay, and what I mean by this is that mathematics really is a language. All right, it's a language and an art. Okay, for me at the higher levels, what I felt was that mathematics became a way of communicating these abstract ideas between different people. So your professor would post a problem in the problem sets, and you had to answer back with your answer. And throughout all these different branches of mathematics, you learn vocabulary. So for me, mathematics became essentially a language. Um, you developed your fluency in the language through doing problems and talking during lectures, but not so much just talking at the lectures, through talking with problems, through talking through prompts. Um, with, of course, this idea of right or wrong, right? For instance, if I'm speaking the English language, there are ways I can structure my my talking in English that would be determined to be wrong, to be in terms of grammar, in terms of in terms of the language itself would be wrong. Mathematics, a lot of things are also wrong, right? If you write a proof and there's a fallacy in the proof, that proof is deemed wrong. But the important thing to note is that mathematics for me became a language that I could talk to with other people. For instance, if I wanted to post in an online forum, I could talk about it with vocab that other non-mathematicians could not understand. So I had this ability to communicate problems. I had this mental imagination of certain structures in math that non-mathematicians wouldn't be able to comfortably talk about. So basically that's what it became, right? And it's it's almost like um in your mind there's a part of um it's a part of it that talks about I'm talking in terms of language. If there's a game like basketball or hockey, I'm talking in terms of the moves, in terms of passing, right? That's not necessarily talking, but kind of like putting something out of me. Like I'm just pouring something out. And mathematics is one of these subcategories of anything that you can do that you pour out. So now that I knew kind of what mathematics was, I had a lot of trouble, like, kind of wrapping my head around how do I study this, right? My teachers would always say, oh, yeah, just go do the problem sets. And I did do the problem sets, but a lot of the time I struggled. So I feel like the thing is, mathematics takes imagination and it takes thinking. But first, you have to know the basics, right? If you're going to be learning calculus, you have to know advanced functions. Because it's like if you're going to go into a university level English class, first you have to know how to speak fluently. You can't be coming from China into Canada, you don't have fluent language skills, and you go to the course because you're going to have a lot of trouble. So, for me, what I want to pass on to the high school students out there really is just how to study. And I think at the high school level, how to study is actually very simple. To learn a new language, you have to speak it, you have to talk it, right? You can't just study the grammar, study the whatever, right? You have to do problems in because problems the book, okay, the book which is basically the author's thinking. They think of a problem. They think of a possible sentence to say. Je t'aime, right? That's French for I love you. They say, je te déteste, I hate you. Tu es un idiot, you're an idiot. So, how it's like kind of they give you a sentence and then you think about it. Either you translate it or you reply to it, right? That's what you would do in French. I was in a French class and my teacher said, okay, ce leçon-là, on doit comprendre, we have to understand, okay, how to conjugate this. That's again part of the language. We have to, how would you reply to this sentence? J'aime les mathématiques. Okay, and then you would reply. So that is how you build up the foundation. And I feel the most important thing in building up the foundation is to do a lot of problems and practice thinking those problems. Alright? That comes with knowing that, especially at the lower level, none of the stuff the teacher or the professor teaches is anything original that you'll only find in their class. 99.9% of the time, you're going to go to the class, the teacher's going to teach something, but you can find that stuff online or you can find it in another textbook. I'm not saying you need to find the answer. I'm saying you can find the same subject matter online or in another textbook. You can find the exact same type of questions, the exact same type of thinking that you need to understand. So really, for me, when I was in high school, my solution was I would go to the library and I would check out like 4 or 5 different books on the same thing that my teacher's teaching. Number one, whenever they gave a problem on the term test, I would know exactly what it is. Not because it was in their problem set, but because it was in the problem set of one of my textbooks. Number two, I got so much more practice. Oh, I don't have enough practice. Let's ask my teacher. So I went and checked out those books, and I found online resources where the teacher was like asking a question and I already knew it. Not because, again, from the problem set, because obviously it's not going to be there, but from looking in these other places. So what I'm trying to say is, if you want to develop mathematical thinking, you have to immerse yourself in the language. All right, and there's ways to do it. There's ways where you just follow the structure of the teacher, and you learn French through conjunctions, accents, verb tenses. You do exactly what they do, and they teach you how to do math. Or you can just BS everything and go search up random stuff and learn it by yourself. You kind of, this is a street way of learning. You go to the library, there's 3 4 textbooks, you check out 3 4 textbooks, and you do the problems, you read the explanations. They are going to be different from what the teacher explains, and you're going to get a more in-depth knowledge of the subject matter. So instead of, you know, I'm going to go to this one class that's 1 hour long, and I'm going to do these questions that are only so much, because the teacher only has one textbook that he can, somebody give you handouts. I'm not going to talk about that, right? So you need to go to, these libraries, right, where you're going to online resources. You have to, it's very important at the beginning to really become fluent. Okay, that's something that I struggled with at the beginning, was to become fluent. Once you become fluent, then you can build up. Mathematics, getting a PhD might not be for everyone. Maybe you don't like math. Maybe math just doesn't click. But to a certain level, you're able to use mathematics, because there is a certain level of thinking that you can do with any language, any average person, right? That's the level. And the reason that you're not doing math properly, it might not be because you're stupid. Because 90% of the time, I personally believe it's not anybody's stupid. It's because you're not taught properly. And the teaching that you need to do at the very beginning, especially in high school, is by yourself. Right? If something doesn't make sense, you look online for it. If something doesn't make sense, you look in another textbook. If you need more practice, you check out a couple of textbooks and you do more practice there. If you have questions, you ask it. This is active learning, okay? Because at the end of the day, everybody, I believe, can do math. Obviously, if you're mentally disabled or something, I'm not gonna say anything stupid about that. But if you're, average smart, your brain can get smarter, your IQ can go up. What I want to conclude overall is, mathematics is almost completely an art and a language. Okay? Which means, just like how you learn French or Chinese or Spanish, at the beginning it's the most difficult. And also at the beginning is where you need to expose yourself to different parts of mathematics. And for me, what I did to do that was check out different books from the library that covered the same topic, perhaps more difficult. Obviously, you can't use those things on the test, or you gotta be smart, you gotta be clever. But, things that are more difficult helps you understand. Things online. Don't be caught up in, oh, this is the course. This is how I have to study. At the very beginning, you have a lot of freedom. When you go up, you don't have that freedom. You have to follow the teacher, because a lot of the stuff that the teacher is teaching is only something that he knows from a certain area that is difficult to find, right? If it's not in the library, you can't just not listen to the teacher and then expect that I'm gonna find it elsewhere, because that's not true. If you don't listen to the teacher, you might never find it, and then you're gonna be in trouble, right? The higher level you go, the more you have to listen to your teacher, is what I feel like personally. It was for me. Take notes or whatever. But that should be at a stage where you already can talk, where you already have a knowledge of the language. All right. Once you already have the knowledge of the language, you have the intuition, you have the solving capability, you have the ability to see art. All these things. At that level, then those study habits, they work, right? You can't take you can't take an NBA level shooting drills if you don't know how to shoot. Do you know what I'm saying? If you are going to the NBA and they're doing shooting drills with you, you're not going to be doing NBA level shooting drills if you can't even shoot, right? You have to learn shooting, dribbling, everything before you do those drills. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to do them. If you're playing hockey and you don't know how to skate with a puck, right? You can't be doing any energy. You just won't be able to do that, right? So you have to focus on a lot of students. I feel like for me, I was like, oh, okay, I don't know how to do this. But when I got down to it, it was pretty. Just I had to rewire my. It's just like if you never skated before and you go on the rink for the first time, you're not gonna know how to move. For me, it was the same thing. It was in mathematics. I was, oh, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. But once you sit down and you look at it and you read it and you go to the library for it, because going to the library is great, it makes you focus, and then you go do it, and then you find out that yeah, I can actually. So many people they're like, I can't do this. It's too hard. But maybe you just need some music in your ears. You listen to music while you're studying. Maybe you just need some coffee. Maybe you just need to look in different books. All right, because so many people I feel fail because they don't get past that initial stage. Sometimes I struggle in courses because I don't get past that initial stage of, oh, I'm not well versed in this thing that I'm doing. I can't speak this language. I can't do this move. All right, because it has a prerequisite. If you're gonna be speaking and learning vocabulary at a high level, you have to have that basics, and you have to learn those basics. All right, so you can't, just basketball. You have to practice. That's how you learn everything. Okay, but mathematics, um, it's not something like where you just learn everything by yourself. All right, sometimes someone helping you can help you learn it better. All right, some people they're naturals; they can learn everything. You give them textbooks, you give them a test, they're done. Some people don't. There's no such thing as a dumb student. There's no such thing as a bad student. It just everyone has a way, has to find out how to learn. And if they can't do it, if their mind can't do it, then you can find something else. If really at the end of the day you're doing all these things and you're not even getting a 20, well, there's nothing that can be done about that. If you're studying hard and you're okay and you're doing the homework, you're looking at other books, looking online, you're trying to do things like write with the left hand, listen to music or study, and still you get a 20, well, maybe math isn't for you. Math is not for everyone. Just like anything is not for everyone. But for a lot, I wouldn't say most, but for a lot of people, they can easily get a PhD if they do the homework and they learn the basics, because that's all it is, right? If you use it, it's like almost like playing hockey, like I learned what I used, right? I learned the crossovers and the ball hand and the puck handling or whatever, and then I used that in the match, right? Because I know that stuff. That's how I'm able to play at a high level. If I don't know it, if I don't know that because it's puck handling, I'm not gonna play at a high level because I don't know that, and be playing at a high level requires that, right? So this is kind of the overall thing that I wanted to talk about is my spiel. Because I'm probably not gonna be teaching high school, so it's the first video in I guess a bunch of videos about. Because what was the point of me teaching university, right? Um, University, they're already in trouble, right? You can't just all of a sudden, because you need to take so many courses. I'm taking stuff part time, so I have time. A lot of people in in university, they already have like 4 courses, and if they don't know the basics and you're still going back to the basics, it's a little bit rushed. You're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get dropped out. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna probably make some videos about this high school level mathematics. This is just the first one, the first video, which is about how to learn what mathematics is. And yeah,